Someone whispers softly near a microphone or gently taps their fingernails against a wooden box, and a wave of tingling relaxation spreads across your scalp and down your spine, seemingly out of nowhere. Meanwhile, a car horn blasting at the exact same volume does nothing close to that at all, except maybe startle you and leave your heart racing. Certain very specific sounds seem to unlock something in your body that most sounds simply can't reach, and researchers have only recently started figuring out exactly why. This tingling response has a name, ASMR, short for Autonomous Sensory Meridian Response. It typically starts as a distinct tingling sensation across the scalp, sometimes spreading down the neck and along the spine in slow, gentle waves, triggered specifically by soft, gentle, close proximity sounds, whispering, tapping, crinkling paper, or slow, deliberate personal attention directed at the listener. It's not a universal experience either. Research estimates suggest only somewhere around a fifth of people reliably experience this particular sensation, while plenty of others feel little to nothing at all from the exact same trigger sounds, even after repeated attempts to notice something. What makes this genuinely interesting is how narrow and specific the effective trigger list actually is. Loud sounds don't reliably produce it. Sudden, sharp sounds don't either. Even pleasant music, while capable of producing a related but distinct chill response, doesn't consistently trigger the same scalp tingling sensation ASMR specifically describes. The sounds that actually work share a very particular quality. They're quiet, unhurried, and often sound like they're coming from someone paying close, gentle, personal attention directly to you. One compelling explanation ties this directly back to primate grooming behavior, a comparison that shows up repeatedly across research into human social bonding. Grooming among primates isn't just about hygiene or removing parasites from fur. It's a deeply important social bonding activity, involving slow, careful, repetitive physical attention from one individual directly focused on another, often maintained for extended periods at a time. Researchers studying ASMR have proposed that many of its most reliable triggers, soft speech, gentle repetitive sounds, close personal attention, closely mirror the sensory experience of being groomed, potentially activating some of the same ancient neural circuitry originally built around that specific caregiving behavior millions of years before humans ever existed in their current form. Part of what makes these specific sounds so effective likely comes down to what they signal about proximity and safety in a very direct, physical sense. A soft, quiet, close-sounding voice generally only exists if someone is genuinely nearby, calm, and focused entirely on you rather than on any external threat, requiring their full attention elsewhere at that same moment. In a species that relied heavily on trusted social bonds for both safety and cooperation, that particular combination, closeness, calm, and undivided personal attention, would have been a meaningful, reassuring signal worth having a strong, built-in physiological response ready to greet every single time it happened to occur. Picture an early human sitting quietly while another member of their group carefully picks through their hair, murmuring softly nearby, entirely focused on this one small, repetitive task and nothing else happening around them. That combination, gentle, repetitive touch, soft, nearby vocalization, complete, undivided attention from a trusted individual, would have been a genuinely safe, low-stress moment worth relaxing fully into. A body that responded to that specific combination with real physical calm, slowed heart rate, released tension, would have gotten real restorative value out of these otherwise ordinary, unremarkable social moments scattered throughout an ordinary day. A widely cited 2018 study, led by researcher Giulia Poerio and colleagues at the University of Sussex, used brain imaging to examine what happens during an ASMR response directly, rather than relying purely on self-reported descriptions from participants. Participants who reliably experienced ASMR showed measurable decreases in heart rate during triggering videos, alongside increased activity in brain regions associated with reward processing and affiliative social bonding, the same general circuitry involved in feeling genuinely close and connected to another trusted person. That's a real, physically measurable state, not merely a subjective description people were simply imagining or exaggerating for the researchers running the study. This same research helps explain why loud or sudden sounds don't produce anything close to the same effect. An unexpected loud noise activates a completely different system entirely, the startle reflex, a rapid threat detection response built to prepare your body for danger as fast as biologically possible. ASMR triggering sounds do the functional opposite, signaling calm and safety rather than alertness and threat. It makes evolutionary sense that these would rely on largely separate neural pathways, since they're solving two genuinely opposite survival problems. Individual variation in ASMR susceptibility appears to be genuinely real rather than simply a matter of paying closer attention or trying harder to feel it on purpose. Some research has found a correlation between ASMR sensitivity and certain personality traits, particularly openness to experience, similar to patterns found in research on music-induced chills more generally, suggesting some shared underlying sensitivity across related sensory phenomena. It's worth being clear that not experiencing ASMR doesn't indicate anything is wrong with a person's brain, or that they're somehow less capable of relaxation than someone who does feel it. It appears to be more like a spectrum of sensitivity to a specific, narrow category of sensory triggers, present strongly in some people and largely absent in others, without any clear evidence that one end of that spectrum is inherently better than the other. The term ASMR itself is surprisingly recent, coined in 2010 by a woman named Jennifer Allen, who created an online community specifically to help people who experience this tingling sensation find each other and put a name to something many had privately felt for years without any shared vocabulary to describe it. Before that, people who experienced this sensation had no common term at all, often assuming their particular reaction to certain sounds was either unique to them personally or simply too strange and specific to bring up with anyone else, which likely kept serious scientific interest in the phenomenon delayed for considerably longer than it otherwise might have been. It's worth noting that scientific research into ASMR is still a genuinely young field, having only gained serious, sustained academic attention within roughly the last decade, despite the sensation itself almost certainly existing in some people for far longer than anyone had a name for it. Much of the earlier evidence relied heavily on self-reported experiences rather than direct physiological measurement, and researchers are still actively working out exactly which neural mechanisms are involved and how reliably they can be measured across different individuals with different sensitivities. It's also worth separating the legitimate, still developing science discussed here from various unrelated wellness or pseudoscientific claims that sometimes get attached to ASMR content online without any real supporting evidence behind them, since popularity online doesn't automatically mean a specific claim has actually been tested and confirmed. None of this was originally designed with a camera or a microphone in mind, and yet it accidentally explains an enormous modern phenomenon almost nobody could have predicted just a couple decades ago. A vast, dedicated online industry now exists specifically to create and share ASMR content, whispered narration, gentle tapping, slow personal attention role play, essentially industrializing a sensory response that likely evolved millions of years before anyone imagined recording sound at all, let alone streaming it directly into someone's headphones on demand. Millions of people deliberately seek this feeling out today, often late at night while trying to relax or fall asleep, without ever knowing there's a genuine evolutionary story behind exactly why certain sounds affect them this specifically, and others simply don't reach them the same way at all. The next time a particular sound sends an unexpected wave of calm rippling across your scalp, it might be worth remembering that response likely traces back to something considerably older than headphones or whispered internet videos, quietly running on circuitry that predates recorded sound by an enormous stretch of time. That's exactly the kind of hidden thread this channel exists to dig up. If you want more of these, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.